Hello and welcome to my video about how to design a cover for a paperback book that you are self-publishing, whether that's for a client or for yourself. This is what we're going to be creating in this video today. This is our fake book that I made up as our example. I'm going to be showing you how to get the measurements right, how to set all the margins and the bleed so that you can design happily in Canva and not worry about getting any errors from Amazon or wherever else you're uploading when you're done. So I'm going to walk you through step by step. We're going to create this whole idea together. The first couple steps are just going to be getting the document set up and ready to design in. And at that point, I'm going to start doing the creative stuff. And you're welcome to stick around for the creative stuff. Or if you just need to know how to set up your file in Canva, that's what we're going to be doing first. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do if you are going to make a book cover specifically for Amazon, but this will also work on lots of other print-on-demand websites, is you need to get the measurements that you need for your design. Amazon has this cover calculator that you can use. I will put the URL on the screen, but I will also link it in the video description. And we can just put in your book information here. It's going to give us a template that we can then import into Canva and use the measurements on it to make sure our cover is the right size. I'll just walk you through the information here really quickly. First is your binding type. This video is about paperback specifically. I'll do another one about hardcover. So we're going to do paperback. Interior type is black and white, premium color, or standard. So these will make very, very minute differences in terms of the thickness of the page. But I'm just going to go with a black and white design for today. The paper type, white or cream paper, that's up to you. Page turn direction doesn't really matter for design, so just pick left to right is most common. And measurement units, I like to work in inches, but you can do millimeters if you like. And then finally, we have the interior trim size. This is the actual size of your book. So if you don't know ahead of time what you want to do, you may want to look at other books on your shelf and decide what size works for you. There is going to be a bit of a price difference. This was sort of something they introduced a while ago, that 5 by 8 inches is going to be a little less than 6 by 9. So this is also a more common size for novels, and this is just a little bit bigger, but this is a more common size for journals in my experience. So whatever you're designing, you can pick whatever size you like. I'm going to go with a 6 by 9 inch journal today as our example. Finally, you're going to need to know the number of pages in your book. So this means that you do have to either plan or format your book interior first. The reason that you need to know this is because the page count dictates how wide the spine of your book is, and that is going to impact the size of your overall design. So if you guess it's a 200-page book, but it actually ends up being 250, you're going to have to resize your cover design, or Amazon is going to reject it. So you want to know this ahead of time. I'm going to say I'm making a 200-page book. So now that I've put all the information in, I can click on Calculate Dimensions, and it gives us this little map of a cover explaining the different parts. I'm not going to go through all of this because I'll just sort of show you live when we are designing. But the information that you need, first of all, is just the full cover measurements. So I'm going to write these down just so we can make a Canva document that is this size. And I'm also going to go down to Download Template, and I am going to download that. It's going as a zip folder to my desktop. I'm going to unzip it. And this is what's inside. We have a PDF version, a PNG version, and a little README. So we're going to be using the PNG version in our Canva file, but I will show you that momentarily. Now that we have our numbers and our template downloaded, I'm going to open up Canva and create a new design. Ignore all of the preset things. We're just going to go to custom size. And then this is where we can change this to inches or millimeters if you decided your template was in millimeters. And we can type in those numbers from that previous page. So for my demonstration, that was 12.75 by 9.25. Let's click on Create New Design, and it will open up a file for us to work on. So here we go. This is our blank book cover. Now I'm going to go and click and drag that template that we downloaded, the PNG file, into Canva, and I'll show you what we do next. Now, this is the file that we just imported. So I'm going to be using this for reference and also show you how to kind of keep it handy but not rely on it too much. If you typed in your numbers correctly, we can drag this file up to the corner and expand it, and it will fit perfectly in our frame here. The tool that we're going to be using in Canva to help us with the guides is the rulers and guides feature. And to make sure that that's turned on, that's why I have this ruler here on the sides of my canvas. You can go up to File, View Settings, and make sure Show Rulers and Guides is turned on. Once you have that turned on, basically what it lets you do is, I'm going to go up to this bar here, click and drag, and I get this like blue line that I can put anywhere in my design, and that's going to act as sort of a guideline. So I'm going to use these click and drag guidelines to basically recreate the lines on this template. And then when we're done, we'll move the template to another page just so we can keep it for reference. And we will be working in a Canva file that has all our guides on it. Now I'm going to zoom in a bit just to make sure I can line these up as accurately as possible. And let's talk a little bit about what all these colors and lines mean. So basically anything in the red area, you don't want to have anything important there because it's either going to be a cut or a fold. So you want to make sure that any interesting content fills the full space, but you don't have words or critical images in the red zone. The very outside of this image, which is beyond the black border, is going to be the trim line. So that is where the big machine that cuts the book is going to be cutting on that black line. So you don't want your image to be up to the black line because there's a risk there'd be a little bit of white space that doesn't print right to the edge. The extra is called the bleed, and that makes sure that your image goes right to the edge of the cover. And the inside is pretty much the same reason. You just don't want anything that's going to be touching or cut off the edge because it was in the red zone. The dotted line in the middle, that shows where the fold for the spine is going to be. So the spine is actually between the two dotted lines. Again, we have that red indicating just the not safe area where things could be cut off or bent or just any sort of manufacturing space that you don't want your critical images in. And down below, we also have the location of the barcode. You don't have to include a barcode in a book if you're publishing on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any of those other sites where you upload a PDF cover. An exception is going to be a site like Ingram Spark, but Ingram Spark wants you to use their custom templates, which I believe can only be edited using Adobe software. That was the case last time I did one, at least. All we want to know is that there is going to be a barcode. This is where it's going to be, and you don't want to put any text or anything important behind it so it doesn't get covered. But that's something to keep in mind just when you're designing. Now I'm going to adjust these lines to match up with the ones on the guide. And I'll do the same for the guides on the spine as well. So now I'll just zoom out. If I were to delete the template that we had, you can see that the lines indicating where the spine, the front of the cover, which is here on the right, and the back cover on the left, kind of indicates where everything is going to be. Now I'm just going to put that back. Now, by all means, you can also add additional guides to indicate the areas where the bleed is. I'm not going to, but you can do that if you feel like you're concerned about anything being too close to the edge. Now, I'm not going to actually delete this template because I am going to use it a little bit more and use it just for reference to know where the barcode is. So I'm just going to create a second page and I'm just going to put it down there. So if we need it and we will use it for reference later, I can grab it from there. So now we have our canvas ready to put a book cover on. So at this point, you can just be creative and do whatever you like. I'm going to do up an example that I would do for like a nonfiction book covers, just because I wanted to have the features of text on the back. I want to have the front with the text and name and tagline and some images and something on the spine as well. So if you have your own idea for what you want your cover to look like, maybe that's all the tutorial you need. But if you want to stick around and just see my design process for an example book cover, then we will do that now. I'm going to pretend that I'm doing this for like a financial advice kind of book. So the first thing I want to do is think about images, and I'm going to approach the text second. You can do whatever order works for you in your creative process. Sometimes it varies depending on the project for me, but I'm going to go and use things out of Canva's Elements library. Canva lets you use things out of the Elements library for commercial projects like book covers. If you have any concerns about that, you can check out their licensing agreement, which you can, I will link that in the video description. I find that my graphic design students often have questions about that. It's pretty straightforward, and just, if you have a free account, you can use the free graphics. If you have a pro account like I do, you can use all the graphics. I'm just going to use free ones for this tutorial just so that there's no confusion. Everything I'm doing in this video, you can do with a free account. So the first thing I want to look for is something for the background. And in my head, I'm picturing like a blackboard or a chalkboard. So I'm going to go into graphics And if you want to find things that are only free, for example, this graphic would be great, but I'm trying to do this with all free items. You can go into the filters right here and click on only free. So now everything in here is for a free Canva account to use. And I think I actually want a photograph. Yeah, this looks more like what I'm thinking. I like the look of this one, so we'll give this a try. Now, in terms of filling a full space with a picture for a cover, you have a couple options. So the first option is to make this the full size of the cover. And then your image is going to sort of wrap around the full thing. That may not work for every single graphic. So you can also do something like I'm going to put this on the side that is the front cover. So this is the front of the book. I'm going to just resize it so it covers the front up to the spine. So you could have this image cover the spine as well or not. I will do not just for the example. And then you could fill the background with a complementary color. Just pick that gray. So this is an option if you are working with a picture that doesn't really stretch along the back or you don't want to crop it. That's a way you can kind of fill in the background. Or you could do a texture or a pattern or something instead of just a solid color for the background. But as it is, I'm going to have this image stretch across the whole thing. Just like that. Now I want some sort of graphic that indicates finances, and I think it's going to be something that kind of matches the chalkboard vibe. So I search for finances and I'll go into graphics, and I will just look for something that kind of fits the idea for this fake book I'm creating. Okay, I got a little bit more specific and I said finances drawing as my search term because I thought I wanted something a little bit handmade looking. And I see these two charts here. I think this one looks pretty great. So I'm going to position it there. I'm going to change the color to white so it looks like chalk and make it just a little bit bigger and try and center it. Now you can see, because I'm using these guides, that I can center this image roughly on the middle of the cover. Canva isn't going to offer like snapping tools for this because we're not working on the actual middle of the document. We're trying to get it in the middle of this half. So that looks good enough to me. I'd actually like to also include a complementary graphic on the back cover. So Magic Recommendations suggested all of these. I'm just going to take a look, and these are all kind of sketchy, business-like graphics. So maybe I'll grab one of these. I'll change that to white as well. And I'll just leave it there because I don't know how I'm going to design the back cover yet. We're just going to work on the front for now. So we have our image, we have the background, now we need some text. I'm just going to tap T on the keyboard for a text box, and we will position our text. Now I'm thinking that we're going to do author name at the bottom along with like an accreditation, and then something interesting for the title of the book up here. So for the author name, let's just do Jane Doe. And I want to look for a font that suits this style. So I'm going to go up to the font box and have a little look and see. I want something a bit handwritten, but still a little bit professional. So I'm going to search for handwriting. And I'll have a look through the options that come up for something that just fits the vibe of what I'm going for. All right, I might change my mind after, but right now I like this font called Architect's Daughter. So we're going to go with this. I've made this text in all caps, which I think is a good solution for a business style book. And I'm going to make this a lot bigger as well. Typically this genre, the author name is quite prominent. Now I want to add another text box right below, so I'm going to just duplicate this one, make it a little bit smaller, put it over there. I'm just working over here because these auto snapping lines can be a bit distracting. And then I'm going to put in an accreditation or something to go with the author. So there, I made up the best-selling author of the Financial Guide for Teens. I don't really know what that means, but we're just going to use that and put it down below. So that looks pretty good. At this point, we can adjust this text a little bit, see if I want it to be all caps or not. I think I like it in all caps, but I am going to reduce the spacing in between, make it a little tighter, and then maybe a little smaller as well. Okay, so that part looks pretty good. Now we need to add the title of the book. In terms of just overall book design theory, I would say that 2 fonts is kind of the max I would do personally. So this font is also the one I'm going to use on the back cover, but you could use something that is complementary as the title of the book. It's really up to you. And then there's a lot of text features on Canva that you can play around with to make it look a little bit more interesting. So I'm just going to see what I can do. I don't have a plan for this, but I'm going to duplicate this and come up with a fake title. Okay, this is what I came up with. So I just decided to make some text that kind of fits with the graphic, and it ended up being kind of a cube shape. So the fake title is "It All Goes Up From Here," includes the little illustration as well. So I've selected this all. I'm actually going to group it so it stays together. And now I'm just going to reposition this a little bit so it takes up more of the cover. There we go. So I think proportionally this cover is looking pretty good. The issue that I have with it now is that it's a little monochrome and a little bit boring. So I'm going to try and think about some ways that I can spice this up a little bit using color and accent lines. I think that two horizontal lines, top and bottom, in a color that is very eye-catching, I'm thinking yellow as complementary for both the genre and the design, would look pretty good. So I'm going to tap L on the keyboard, which gives us a line. I'm going to reposition it there. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to change the color to a bright yellow. I'll duplicate that line and put the double one up at put the other one up at the top to sort of complement it. I think that's pretty good, but I think we could try changing the graphic to the same yellow color. I think I like that better with this as yellow as well. So that's pretty much it for the cover of the book. Now we're going to look at the back cover and we'll do the spine last. And before we're done, we're also going to check with the template below to make sure everything fits. So I'm just going to add some text to the back cover. I'm going to duplicate this box right here and use this. I'm going to make like a fake heading, and then we'll just add some placeholder text. All right, there's my fake little heading. Make it a little bit bigger and put that sort of middle of the back of the book. I'm going to put the image, I think right there looks pretty good. And then I'm going to have text working around it. And also the barcode is going to be right here. If you are concerned about the barcode design, let me show you just a little strategy. I'm just going to grab this template and pull it back up here. Now I'm going to hit R on my keyboard for rectangle, and I'm going to just cover the yellow box with my rectangle. Now I'm just going to move this template back down, second page, leave it there. So now we have this red box that we can delete when we're done, but we know that that's where the barcode is going to be. Back cover can have whatever you like on it. Typically it's going to have a description of what's in the book and then maybe a picture of the author and a blurb about them. I don't have an author to work with, so I'm just going to put some placeholder text. We will duplicate this. All right, I'm going to use the Magic Write feature just to fill in some placeholder text. So I'm going to start with a sentence. So there is my little starter. I'm going to make it not all caps. I think that works better. And then I will ask Magic Write to continue writing. So there you go. It used AI and it just gave me a bunch of text that I can use here. Now I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to make it down to a size 12, maybe a 13. 13.7 is where it landed. I think that looks pretty good. So in order to get it to kind of fit here and here, I have to use separate text boxes. So I'm going to duplicate this, put that one over there, and then line this up. I also see it's all centered, which I don't want. I'm going to use alignment justified. It'll fit that in about there. Canva doesn't have the easiest flowable text boxes, so you kind of have to make this happen yourself. So there we go. We stopped at Learn How To. I will take this box over. Fix the alignment again. And where did we leave off? Learn How To and start at Create. Okay. So there we go. Now this kind of flows together and I got the right shape. This is a little bit long, so I'm just going to take the bottom part off. Then I can scooch the whole thing down a little bit just to fill the space a bit better. Maybe make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, I like the look of that. And down here is also a good place to put publishing marks or anything about the publisher or links, again, author information. So I'm going to leave it blank, but you could put something there. If this was a template you were selling, your client or whoever uses it might have ideas of what they want to put there. Now, anything I want to adjust. I see that this line is sort of touching the box where the barcode is. I can't really decide if I like that or not. Another option is to, instead of using a line, just make a box that fills it all the way to the edge. I'm a little bit tempted to do that. Let's try that and see if we like it. I'm going to just delete the line, hit R for rectangle, change it to the yellow we're working with, and then I'm going to put it in the bottom corner so it snaps on all the way to that bottom corner, and bring this down. So I think meeting the barcode is okay. I don't really have a problem with that. And we're going to see plenty of yellow because it is above the cut line and the bleed. I'm going to replace the top one with the same box. Just duplicate it. Bring it up top. And there we go. So I think this looks pretty good. And the last thing to do is to delete the placeholder for the barcode. We don't want to accidentally include that. And then drag this template up. I'm going to make sure it locks so it's centered on the design. Then I'm going to change the opacity of this, or the transparency. Just put it at, 30%. And then I can kind of see my design through the template and make sure that everything looks kind of where it needs to be. Oh, and I still have to do the spine. Okay, so let me move this away, and then we'll do the spine. It's not super complicated, so I'm just going to grab one of these text boxes. I'll use this one. We're going to make it a lot smaller, and we're going to rotate it. If you can't remember which way to rotate for a book spine, you just want to remember that when the book is sitting flat on a table, you want to be able to read the spine facing up. So I'll put the Jane Doe box down here because that's the author name, and then I will duplicate this and write in the title of the book on the spine. Okay, great. So there we go. It sort of auto locks on the center of the design. There we go. And if you had a little publisher emblem, sometimes they put that at the top or bottom here as well, but I don't have one. So that's it. That is a cover that would work on Amazon KDP. Now, when you upload it to Amazon or whatever other site you're using, Amazon's the most popular, you can upload this and it'll give you a preview to show you that it translated correctly to their systems before the book is printed. So you want to make sure that all the edges are looking good and you don't get any errors from Amazon. But using this method, this is how I avoid getting errors, by getting it all very precisely based on the template they provide. When you're ready to export, you just go up to Share. We're going to go Download, and then I use PDF, print, or standard. I don't think it actually matters that much. I'm going to use print just for the sake of it. I don't include crop marks and bleed because we've already accounted for the bleed in this design by using the template. You can flatten your PDF if you like. Sometimes that will deliver a better result. If you're having any issues with Amazon, you may want to try that. Make sure that you're only going to download the first page because the second just has our template, or you can delete the second one just to be sure. And I personally always pick RGB. CMYK is only an option if you have a pro account, but I find that Canva actually doesn't do a really great job converting colors to CMYK, which is what you're basically doing by using this feature. I prefer to let the printer that I'm using convert it because I find the colors can be a little bit dull if you do this. That's just one thing that Canva I think has a weakness on. Maybe they'll improve it in the future. So we'll do RGB, and then you download your file, you're good to go. So this is what our book cover looks like all finished. And obviously when you get it printed as a paperback, it's going to wrap around and you'll see the front looking by itself. And I'm going to do some mock-ups for the video's sake, just to show what that looks like. If you're doing an ebook version, you can just crop this front section and use that, or you can design it separately and just copy and paste the elements from the paperback. But having a solid design to start with makes it a lot easier to make other versions, whether you prefer to design ebook first or print book first. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about this project, please do let me know in the comments, and I will do my best to either answer it in the comments or make other videos answering bigger questions if you guys have them. And if you like learning with me, I'm going to be teaching a lot more design classes here on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe and also let me know what else you'd like to learn. That would be great. Hope this was helpful. Good luck with your project. I'll see you later.